were talked about, like you don't like, it's just like back in the day, even up until the 90s and 2000s, white people, when they talked about black people, they'd be like, black people. They would whisper it as if it's a crime to say black people, you know? They'd be like, black people.
Or see, I take that differently, because
we
weren't black people weren't everywhere.
Because it gives me the same kind of feeling as a queer person, but you can't understand that because you're not queer. So it gives me the same feeling as when white people whisper colored or black people because they feel weird about saying it just outright, is the same feeling you're giving me about saying cis. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cringy. Why?
It just confuses me. It should. I don't know why it confuses you.
Because I don't get why someone would shy away from that word, given the climate that we're in. If someone wants to let people know that,
why do I gotta validate somebody else though? I don't understand that, because I literally have to sit here and fight to be validated as a black man every fucking day.
See, that's exactly what I'm saying. So apply what I'm feeling about queer to you and how you're feeling about black, because I'm not trying to push anything on you. I'm just trying to get you to see it from my eyes, and how what you're saying is making me feel it's the exact same way that white people make us feel when they're saying things that they don't understand themselves, but they're being a certain way. Does that make sense? The intersections that I sit at gets me to look at all kinds of things, whereas you're not able to see those things because you're not sitting at the intersection I'm at. You're at a different intersection.
No, I get where you're going, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this, because this is my problem. They expect the snap of fingers, right? To be okay with something where I never even heard of the word cisgendered until 2 years ago. I didn't even hear wait, just let me explain, because I haven't even heard of pansexual till my daughter was a sophomore in high school. Never even heard what that was. Never even heard the word, right? So for me having to, because I understand it, and I'm okay with it. All I'm asking people to do is don't call me it. And I understand it. I'm looking at what cisgendered means, right? But this is a word that is new to me. I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. But this is a word until under 2 years ago, I found to be disrespectful. For over 40 years, I found this word to be disrespectful. So.
But again, let me just say this. You're taking a sounding of a word that gave you certain emotions.
What? But what does it matter if other people took it out of context?
Let me finish. You're taking a word that is pronounced the same way, but has a completely different meaning because you have emotions tied to it, and putting on a word that has no association to the word that gave you that.
It's the same thing with nigga and nigger.
Exactly.
So that's what, and I sit here and I argue with black people all day about that shit, and I just let them be. Whatever your understanding wants to be, so be it. And I'm never gonna hate on somebody for what they consider themselves to be. Just don't project it. I understand it. I'm not hating on it, right? The only time I ever check anybody about the word is when they consider me cisgendered. Don't label me. That's all I ask people to do, is not to label me.
My thing is, if you feel that way, you sure bring it up a lot. Like
because because people want to call me cisgendered all the time. That's why.
Because it's a common thing.
It's not. It's only been common for the last 2 years. How the fuck is it common?
That's you. That's you and what you're projecting.
No, it's the people that I've been around. Wait, no, don't say that, because there's a majority of people that I hang around that are. It's not the
people that you be around, but it's just society in general, bro.
But
there's more transgender people living their lives authentically and fully, that to distinguish between transgender people and cisgender people, it's going to be more and more and more common. Because more transgender people are living their lives authentically.
But this is the crazy thing. This is why we're going to have issues.
If you want to know who's trans and who's cis, and
I don't know. That's the whole crazy thing.
I'm not saying you specifically. But in society, there are going to be a lot of people that want to know if you're trans or you're cis. And some people, me, for example, if someone I have no problem. I'm not going around being like, I'm queer, I'm pan, but at the same time, I do talk about it in everyday language. Right. So someone telling me that I shouldn't say the word pan or say it to them or be like, you don't have a problem with me calling you straight, but why? Like,
first of all,
you have
let me ask this, right?
Let me finish. You don't have a problem. You have a problem with me referring to you as cis, but you don't have a problem with me referring to you as straight. But I see it as equal ground.
Nigga, why does either one got to come up? I'm not trying to fuck you. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're gay. Why does it need to come up? Unless I'm trying to fuck, why does it matter?
You and I are in agreement. That's
why
not
the
my
fuck?
point.
Unless I'm trying to fuck,
bro,
why does
that's
it matter?
not the point that I am bringing up.
I know, but I'm just saying that's what it should matter to anybody. Unless you're
but
trying
that's
to
not
fuck,
the point that I'm bringing up. The point that I'm bringing up is we live in a society, whether we like it or not, or agree with it, that's what it is. So we can't be too stuck up and upset because of words. We can't. Because they also do have power and define things. I am proud and embrace the word pan. Do I feel the need to talk about it all the time? Do I feel it's important and significant? No. But I'm also proud of it because society tries to make me feel like shit for it. Okay, so someone trying to tell me that I shouldn't embrace that word or talk about it a lot makes me feel like they're projecting their feelings and how they don't want to hear it onto me, which makes me feel some kind of way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I agree with you, but at the same time, it does make me feel like you're trying to push me in the closet at the same time. Just by you saying that you don't like the word cis and being labeled it. Understand where I'm coming from, though. Hear me. I just explained why.
No, I understand that, but why does it have to come up unless it's brought up? Why is that something that should even be talked about unless that's
Bro, I just got done explaining. I literally just explained. It's society. Right. I don't like it either. I don't want to have to bring it up. But sometimes I do because it does help to explain where I am in my life. Why is it that you could talk about Ashley however you want willy-nilly, but when I bring something up of who I'm with, it's seen as, ooh, that's weird or that's nasty.
Who? Wait. Who?
I'm not specifically saying you. I'm bringing up an example, bro. Right. Listen to me. Because straight cisgender dudes mostly act like that. Why? Because it's society in the way they treat people and indoctrinate them from the time they're born that it's nasty to think of men on men. It's not. It's the same. It's just as normal as anybody else, but from a different perspective. But because it's different, it's disgusting. Make that make sense. Well, that's just the same as how white people look at. Listen, let me finish. It's just the same as how white people have always looked at black people as disgusting. Why? Because that's how they were indoctrinated to think. I can't blame them for looking at me as disgusting just for being born black. Because that's how they were taught. It's my duty. It's not my duty, but me existing is my duty to help show them just by my humanity that I'm not disgusting by inherently being myself, nor is my orientation. But society throws these things on us and helps us to project our feelings outward to other people. And your actions, that's what I'm gathering from you. And I'm not saying that I disagree with you because I don't. I understand. You feel me? It's a difference. But that also is a reflection of my intersections. Because you hold more privilege. The whole thing in America. Like, in America, you hold more privilege than me.
Just wait, by being hold the fuck on, man. Just hold on, because you want to. This is the thing of it is. Everybody wants to just hurry up and go in. We need to break this shit down into sections.
I'm trying
right? Okay, but you're going way further ahead. We need to slow down, right? Because this is what I'm trying to get you to understand is that cisgendered, when growing up learning vocabulary, that wasn't something that was learned in school. Right? Well, it wasn't something that was learned in biology. You know what I learned in school? That there was male, female. And some chromosomes that they really never got into unless you were an AP or advanced or
just like they told us about slavery and they didn't explain the full story. They don't want white people to feel bad. It's colonizing propaganda. Just like you did not actually learn the truth about gender, that it does not exist and that there is not just male and female. Just because the science book told you that doesn't make it true.
Oh yeah,
Just like they, let me
agree.
finish. Just like they told us the transatlantic slave trade that we came here in the 1600s and Columbus discovered America. We know that shit ain't true. We know that blacks came here on ships when Mansa Musa had them on, sent them on excursions, and black people were mixing with indigenous people in America for hundreds and thousands of years, long before Christopher Columbus came here. But they don't want to talk about that though. We know that to be true because the evidence shows it, but they don't teach it in the history books. So what, we're supposed to just ignore it? No. And it's the same thing, but people don't want to acknowledge that because it makes them feel uncomfortable. They don't want to acknowledge that the history books were wrong or what they learned in school was wrong. They want to fall back on that because it makes them feel better about their stance on transgender people and queer people and genders and all of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. So when it comes to the fact that, oh, science says, guess what? If you really look up science and you go talk to a scientist, they will tell you that the line of gender is blurred and there's no such thing as just two genders. They will tell you that. Just because our books in school say it doesn't make it true. But all the people that want to keep going with that narrative will use that narrative even though they know it's wrong. Because if you Google it, they will tell you that there's no such thing as just two genders. It's colonizing mentality that brought that up. Just when they started telling us that there was races like black people and white people and Asian people, that didn't exist before the colonizing era came about. Yeah, there were dark people, there were Negroid people and Mongolians, whatever. They had labels, but it wasn't strict race lines like they made it. It's the same exact thing. And it's literally just meant to willy lynch us and keep us compartmentalized. And that's the issue that I have with labels, is that they're now, because of our society, meant to divide us rather than highlight the differences between us, which makes us special. Because there's nothing wrong with labels in that sense. I embrace having labels because it makes me special. It also helps to define and give an identifier as to who I am in difference to you. And my uniqueness. There's nothing wrong with that. We should be unique. The problem with it is it divides us at the same time because of the way our society is. And I agree with you. But we also should not highlight it in that way.
To be honest, it don't divide me from anybody. It's the people that consider themselves that.
I wasn't talking about you, bro.
No, I know, but I'm just saying but I think it goes for a lot of people that are like me. You know what I'm saying? That consider themselves conservatives, but there's certain things that, you know, people consider as hateful or whatever, but there's just
what I see it as is a bunch of people being scared of change. And not knowing how to, and having cognitive dissonance and being bewildered by change and griping about it.
See, I don't see it that way, because the people that
you're not going to see it that way because you're in it, bro. I'm telling you,
the crazy thing. Okay, but no, because it's not because that pisses me off hearing you say that, because the people that I'm talking about, we're educating. We're not even trying to shut y'all down. None of that. Not trying to sit there and negate how you're feeling. Not trying to make you feel shitty or anything. Sitting there trying to listen. You know, no, but yeah, in words, yes, you have been a little bit, but
I'm not intending to. I'm telling you my assessment of what your words are saying and what I'm hearing. I'm literally just retranslating your words and telling you.
But you're not though. But you're not. You're transcribing it back the way that, from your opinion, your perspective, not from my personal life experience.
I'm listening to your personal life experience and telling you the average queer person's interpretation of it and how it might offend me as well, or anyone like me, and our progression of needing equality, equity, and liberty as well. That's just what I'm trying to get you to understand because of how you're trying to understand it. And for the record, I want everybody to know that me and Chaz are brothers. So
man, listen, motherfuckers can take this shit how they want to take it. If they take it that we mad at each other and we sitting here, they're like, oh, y'all hear John Taylor and Chaz arguing?
Right.
We not arguing. You know what I mean? Y'all should really hear us when we're in private having conversations and we're having these type of going back and forth. So shit, this is, I think, one of the better times that we've had a constructive.
Well, I think we like, because
discourse.
we're really trying to work better at. We want people to have opposing views to sit and have constructive conversations and debates and actually be able to make headway in listening to one another. Like sometimes we really do play devil's advocate because me and him know where we stand with each other.
Right.
We understand each other. So we can explore those boundaries and talk from another person's point of view, even if it doesn't directly align with us. You know what I mean? Because people need to hear these conversations, period.
Oh,
because
definitely.
They'll sit in their little rooms and Uncle Ralph will be talking to Uncle Johnny, and they really need to be listening to their transgender niece or nephew in the other room, but they'll sit in the room and talk amongst themselves. You know what I'm saying? When they need to all sit down and have a conversation together.
Because it's not. I was waiting for you to read that. Because it's not scary. You know what I'm saying? Of like, I will say this: I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. And
Same, bro.
I can just speak from my own perspective, and a lot of things I would say I was uncomfortable with because it wasn't stuff that I was around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's things that I wish people could just, be not telling you to be okay with it, but to have at least try to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not wrong. And I get where in this fight, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ, that certain people get offended or get mad about legislation. It's not so the fact that you're transsexual or any of that. And I'm just talking to the people that I've had conversations with. It has the more to do with the legislation is directed at our kids. And for the simple fact that we're allowing kids to make medical decisions on their own, but yet when it comes to them making criminal decisions, it's they're not adult enough to make that decision. Now, I don't want to really get into that today. I just bringing that up for a point because I'm making a comparison of that if something's not explained fully. And
I also think that things aren't fully explained, like to you also. And I think there's still some things that you need to understand in the sense of like, first of all, I want people to know that you have a child that identifies as transgender. So I think that it is part of your due diligence to like understand these things personally, as far as like how it would affect someone that you helped create. In a sense of like they're not a kid anymore. But if they were a kid today, how it could definitely affect their life in a sense of they might, like the rates that transgender kids commit suicide and are killed today because of not enough laws being passed in their favor.
But see,
listen, let me finish. Makes me want to have laws supporting them getting these things done with parental consent, oversight, and looking. But I feel like there's too much attention with doctors looking to check the mentality of the kid, whereas they need to be checking the mentality of the parent, not the kid, because the parent is still ultimately directing that kid, and the parent has the ultimate say, in my opinion. And if the parent is in direct contrast and thinks that is very harmful to the kid, I think that should be something that should be looked at more so than the kid getting hormones. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the kid can always wait a few years. If the more taxing thing that is more harmful to that kid's life is the parents being harmful to that kid. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I see, and I think
I feel what you're saying. You're concerned as a parent, but I think about what I went through as a kid, simply being queer before I even knew that I was queer. Like people were picking on me. Before I could even understand it, people were picking on me. So the fact that the "Don't Say Gay" bill makes no sense. Stuff like that make no sense because then you're literally setting up a whole group of kids for suicide, a whole group of kids to be killed off. And people are okay with it because of their personal feelings of how they choose to parent, not looking at a whole group of people and how they're getting persecuted for it. There are whole groups of kids there are the rates of homelessness amongst youth. 60% of youth that are homeless are queer. not just because of their parents shunning them, but because of running away from persecution of their town wanting to kill them, or so on and so forth. There's so many different scenarios of states barring kids that they're fleeing their families and moving to other states and then going into even worse situations. The stuff that are happening to my people are making me so distraught and so angry at the people that are silent about this shit. It makes me insane that we have to debate about laws instead of actually getting laws passed to help my people. It's like, okay, people are sitting here having debates about affirmative action instead of actually trying to do something about it for our people. It's the same thing. We're sitting here having debates about symbolism and going to Washington, D.C. to have fucking debates about Jalen Walker with millionaires that ain't doing shit, instead of staying boots on the ground in the city and debating and going to city council meetings and holding them accountable. It's the same thing. Tomato, tomato.
No,
I know how you feel about queer people, but there are so many other people out there that want me dead. And you have to acknowledge that every time you think about what you personally want for queer kids, you have to take that into account. I understand your personal stance, but that
now, okay, see,
that want my queer kids dead. And I can't help but always think about how queer kids are dying every day by being killed by laws, by being killed by adults, literally, like not just figuratively, but they're getting shot to death and stabbed to death and choked to death and thrown in boxes and thrown in rivers. Not to mention they're committing suicide because they can't deal with reality, because society is telling them, quite literally telling them that they don't want them, that they don't exist, and there's no place in society for them. And then there's laws on top of it being made that literally make that a reality. So when you take a certain stance based off of your personal opinion, it's like saying to the rest of us that you stand with those people. But see, I know that you don't intend it that way.
But see, I don't have to be at the end of the day, and I'm going to be 110% honest. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. At the end of the day, I know that the shit that I write. My point. I understand that, and
think about what you contribute to, though.
But I'm gonna make a point of the simple fact of people write legislation out their own perspective, out their own personal, the way that they feel, instead of writing for all. And that's what I'm saying of, I don't care. Nobody should care. There shouldn't be any laws that made to restrict a person of how they feel or who they want to be, because at the end of the day, we're all people.
But what Matt said is true. Like, it's the exact same thing, but worse, Matt, actually, because queer Black
people, I can't compare that.
But let me finish, because you don't sit at that intersection, but I can, because I do, and I'm speaking from it because I am at that intersection. You cannot speak on that because you're not queer, you're not identified. I'm telling you because I know from experience, because I am that queer Black people go through worse than someone that's just Black. You have more privilege being straight and being a man than someone that is a woman and queer, period, full stop. And you can't say anything else about that because you don't know what it's like. I do. But I can't even speak for someone that is a woman and is queer because I don't know what it's like. They do. And when they tell me what it's like and that it's worse, I shut up and I listen because I can't understand and relate. Just like neither one of us can tell a woman about her rights and how she gets it worse than us. Understand? And that's what is so hard for other Black people to, and it's just frustrating.
I don't even know where to go with that, because what's happening to LGBT. Yeah. That one to me is like that bugs me
And you know
because
how the people that were getting killed off by the
you're
most
comparing, and that's
only
not what
people.
I'm about, man. And it's like until this is the crazy part for me, right? And I look at this shit, and this is what I see, right? Is everybody wanting to be fucking validated.
You're again speaking from your experience and your privilege. You're
But
not
no,
listening
that's
to
how I
my,
look at this shit,
but
man. Because at the
now
end of
I'm
the day,
feeling downplayed
we're
because
fighting
you
over
just
fucking people fight over pronouns, or if for a kid who can't even get a driver's license.
why
Or
is
can't
it
even
when
go
I'm
to
telling you
to
how
the
I feel
military.
and with my experience and my intersection, you go back to other people. I'm not talking about other people. Listen to me, bro. Listen to me.
About other people.
I'm not. So listen to me for a second. Talk about me. See me for a second, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Nigga, see me. What are you talking about? Because at the end of the day, I literally, right? I understand it. I really fucking do, man. I really do understand it. And I'm not my anger right now isn't even at you, right?
I'm listening.
It's not even at you. What it is, what this frustration is literally that for years upon years, Black men and women have been getting slaughtered, have been getting lynched, massacred for the simple fact of our skin color. Not for the way that we want to be seen out here, but just for the simple fact of our skin color. From the day that we were born, where fucking people have hated us. Not even for the simple fact that they've seen that we were gay, or that we were queer, or that we were cisgendered.
So if that's the case, we should not be acknowledging Black people getting murdered then, because white people get murdered way more statistically than Black people. It's the same thing, bro. But you're downplaying me because I'm a section that you can't.
Nobody is. This is the crazy part. Nobody's downplaying. Why does everybody, instead of just listening and hearing people, because nowhere in there that is your personal perception that I'm downplaying anything you have ever gone through. I'm just tired of the comparisons. Why do we always have to compare?
I'm not comparing. I'm literally telling you my experience, just like you're sitting there telling white people your experience as how Black people are facing police brutality. I'm not comparing. I'm giving you the reality. And there's different. I'm at a different intersection and have a different life experience, but there are millions of other people that have the same life experience as me and can tell you the same thing.
If you're going to talk intersection, can you please explain it so that people understand what you're talking about intersection? Can you explain that?
Okay, you can relate as a white person. You can relate as a Black person that goes through racism and faces stigmas and racism, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're discriminated against for being Black, right? That's for you. For our society, Black people get treated worse than white people, right? Like white people have more privilege in America, right? As a queer person, I have less privilege than being straight. Look at all the states that I can't get a house in. I could be discriminated against and thrown out of just because they will find out that I'm queer. You don't know that discrimination. You could never know that discrimination because you're not queer. That is what an intersection is. I sit at two different points of discrimination. Intersection means that you get, like, I'm queer and I'm Black. I get 2 marks against me and get 2 double senses of discrimination just for being naturally who I am and living. You don't know that level of discrimination. That's what an intersection is. So for someone that's trans and Black and queer, they get 3 marks against them. Then throw on being a woman and trans and Black and queer, that's 4. They literally are the bottom of the bottom. And on top of it, the race that they're getting killed off per their population versus other populations, yes, they knew to be talked about because trans lives matter. Just like you say, Black lives matter. Well, and people say all lives matter. Well, the house that's burning down, everyone needs to worry about that house because it's burning down. Just like the trans house is burning down, people are literally saying, burn it down even more. And when we cry out about it and how that's fucked up, people get on us about it. That makes no